Thank you to the folks who are still hanging out here today. It's nice to see your faces, and I appreciate your dedication to hearing everybody speak. I want to tell you about one of my students who I will refer to as Mary. Mary is creative and kind and caring and intelligent. She loves animals and journaling, talking about TV shows, and giving hugs. But when Mary is emotionally triggered, she feels like everything is a personal attack and that the world is against her. She yells, throws things, punches walls, and causes cracks in her relationships. But at her core, she feels lonely, scared, and disconnected. Mary's supposed to be a senior in high school, but her credits put her at a 10th grade level. Because when you feel like the world is against you, it is not easy to get into your learning brain and be productive at school. As a result of her childhood trauma, Mary has an attachment disorder, and she struggles with having healthy relationships with other people. But she desperately wants to be seen and to feel like she matters. Her mom disappeared when she was a kid, and her dad never recovered, and he takes his pain out on Mary. She self-medicates with drugs and alcohol, which does not actually help her to feel better in any way. I have met hundreds of students who struggle in similar ways to Mary because of their childhood trauma, and this breaks my heart. My name is Kelly Holstein, and I'm the 2019 Minnesota State Teacher of the Year. Thank you. I'm a founding member of TACD Learning Center in Shakopee, where I teach communication arts and literature at an alternative high school in a suburban setting. I've worked with youth for over 25 years. My core belief is that every heart matters, period. And I'm here to protest the ways this administration is treating the humans who are entering our country in search of safety and protection. And I am especially concerned about the kids who are being locked in cages, separated from their families, mistreated, and kept from an education. The impact of this experience is going to make the rest of their lives extremely challenging. This is devastating, and it can be avoided. My focus today is on attachment theory, because every child that is separated from a healthy caregiver or experiences maltreatment is highly likely to develop an attachment disorder. And attachment disorders make everything in your life more difficult. Everyone has an attachment system. It's created by how parents and caregivers respond to their children's distress. This internal working model directly impacts a person's ability to cope and survive. It's how kids learn how to keep themselves safe when faced with danger. And it is one of the most powerful predictors of social and emotional behavior. Attachment systems impact how you relate to and interact with yourself and others, your emotional regulation and distress tolerance, your self-confidence and your self-worth, and your mental, emotional, and physical health. When children or infants experience a disruption in attachment to their primary caregivers, then they are likely to develop attachment disorders. This disruption can be due to abuse, neglect, separation, or maltreatment, including receiving inadequate care in institutional settings. Attachment disorders inhibit one's ability to build healthy attachments to other humans, and they can create a myriad of psychological and behavioral effects. As a result of bullying and abuse in my childhood, I developed an attachment disorder. Years of therapy and self-reflection finally helped me to learn how to securely attach. But it took over 40 years of engaging in painful and complicated situations before I put in the work to heal, become more healthy, and help others. And I want us to prevent as many kids as possible from having the same discomfort and confusion. There are two main attachment categories. The first one is secure. People with secure attachment are able to build healthy and secure and strong attachments to others because they felt safe as a kid. They can balance their thoughts and feelings when met with a stressful situation. These are the kids who feel confident, secure, and content, whether they're hanging out with others or whether they're spending time on their own. And they feel that they are fundamentally lovable. But this group makes up less than 50% of the population. The second category is insecure. People with insecure attachment have learned that attachment to others is unpredictable, and that they have to consistently read their environment and constantly adapt and change in order to survive. These folks fall into one of two categories. avoidant dismissive, or preoccupied anxious. Depending on where these folks fall on the spectrum, when met with a stressful situation, they'll either shut down and pull away from others, or they might become preoccupied with keeping people close, even at the expense of what is healthiest for them. If people with insecure attachment sense a threat, they'll have a fear response that overrides their logic, and it makes it difficult for them to see reality. And when people are reacting to perceived realities, things can get much worse for them and everyone around them. And when people aren't able to see their own involvement in a situation, perspective gaps are created, and this doesn't help anyone. These are the kids and adults who can feel lonely, frustrated, isolated, and miserable, and they don't know how to make it better on their own because they can't. They need help. The good news is that attachment disorders are healable. With help, anyone can learn how to become securely attached. But ideally, we need to prevent kids from going through trauma in the first place so they don't have to go through this needless pain. And we need to support parents and caregivers to work through their own stuff so it does not come out on their kids. We have to do everything in our power to keep kids out of facilities that make them feel scared and alone. When the kids in these detention centers are eventually released, they're going to need years of therapeutic work and an extraordinary amount of compassion and patience. It would be so much better to not put them in there in the first place. And their parents and caregivers are also going to need help, because it is heartbreaking and painful to love a child who wants to connect with you but does not know how. I want to thank Therapist Uncensored, Ann Kelly, Sue Marriott, and the pioneers of attachment theory, John Bowlby, Mary Ainsworth, and Mary Main, and to all the humans who have researched this for decades. I have so much gratitude for all the teachers who stand with me here today, for Mandy Manning for leading us here, yeah, please, let's clap for Mandy, for real, who's doing an interview right now. For Education Minnesota for sending me here and for their consistent support, for this amazing audience in El Paso who's sticking with us all day, and for all of you that are watching online, I implore you to please help us make this country better for our kids, all kids, whether they're documented or not, because all our kids are all our kids. Thank you.